Welcome to Dr. Ali Tarok. He's a former political activist and a political prisoner who arrived in the US as a refugee. He's an expert in advocating for refugee and immigrant communities in Chicago through awareness raising and coalition building. Ali earned a doctorate in law and policy with a focus on refugee employment barriers. He currently teaches public policy at Loyola University.
Do you have anything to share with us, Ali, or?
Thank you so much for having me tonight and giving me an opportunity to uh, talk a little bit about what has happened between Iran and Israel and United States. The goal is to raise some awareness and also think about the situation. So, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I wanted to start, give a little bit background of what happened, like between Iran, US, and give a broader picture of the Iranian nuclear program. Okay, why it's very important for the Iranian government or regime. So we have to remember that the current government inside Iran, the current regime, it was born after a revolution. Okay, their ideology is very important. We have to always remember that this government, this current system is actually a revolutionary system, and their mindset, their ideology, and how they see the world, okay, is different than what the Westerns or other adversaries or even other countries can see the world. So they try to redefine politics. They try to redefine, even international laws, international institutions, and as long as I remember, okay, they were always trying to say, hey, all these entities, all these organizations, institutions are built by the Westerns. And they are working towards the Western countries' interest, and they are not working towards our interest, and they are against suppressed countries or nations, and we want to change this status quo. We want to change this norm, and they believe, okay, they have to extend their discourse and their concept and their ideology to the region, at least to the regions. So again, as long as I remember, we never talk about a nation of Iran, Iranians nation. Okay, they were always talking about Ummah, and I don't know how to translate it in English. Okay, it means, okay, as long as you are Muslim, you are part of. We are one. Okay, so regardless of your nationality, and we have to be united against the Westerns, or uh, against Westerns. So, and still after the situation in Iran is very unique compared to other revolutionary countries. And because when you conduct a revolution and happen, it's over and you have a new system, and you don't keep the entire country in the revolutionary norm or a status quo. So but imagine, okay, 1979 to now, okay, there's still the revolutionary discourse exists, okay, and every day, okay, every time they are talking about our revolution, our revolution leader, our supreme leader of the revolution. So you know th- every single aspect of Iranians are connected to that discourse. So means the DNA of the government and the regime over there is revolutionary. So this is one challenge, one issue it creates, okay, among the international communities. Okay, they cannot accept that discourse, they cannot accept that behavior, and we have to remember that Iranians, as soon as right after the 1979, they tried to expand their revolution, okay, in the region. So we see, okay, they shaped Hezbollah in Lebanon. They start. I think the first international guest visited Tehran after the revolution. It was Yasser Arafat, if I'm not mistaken. And right after the revolution, they occupied the Israelis' embassy and give it to the Palestinian groups, and being a hostile or or enemy of Israel, it was part of that revolutionary discourse. This is very important. We have to always remember, okay, that Iranians or Iranian government, okay, doesn't necessarily support Palestinians, okay, for their rights, okay, because it's part of their ideology. Okay, it's part of fighting against Israel is part of their ideology, and most of them is towards the internal interest, okay, domestic. You have to think about their how they want to seize the power, okay, inside Iran. And also, right after that, okay, we see another tension between Iran and United States. That one is another story because Iranian historically have a bad memory of United States. So we had the United States and conducted the coup in 1953 against Mossadegh administration. So Mossadegh was elected in a very democratic way, and they overthrown Mossadegh and they supported Shah, and Shah became a dictator, okay, the absolute dictator in Iran, and closed all the doors. We had a high percentage of the political prisoners prior to the revolution, and one of the reasons that the 1979 happened, it was that coup in 1953. So based on that memory, the revolutionaries were very worried that United States would bring Shah back to Iran. So they occupied the U.S. embassy as well. So since that day, so Iranian has been under sanctions. So that then escalated. So the overall Iranians have been under the heaviest sanctions in human history. So because of this conflict and tension, the revolutionary government always felt they always see themselves under the attack, or they face some existential threat. So it means, okay, securing their position inside Iran, okay, and also externally in international community, that has been very important, one of their goals for them. And the nuclear program is it was one of their solutions. Okay, so we need to build, our nuclear program, have the capability of enrichment, okay, enrichment, and ultimately works towards the bomb. Okay, so in their rhetoric, they always refuse, okay, we don't want the bomb. However, it makes sense. It would be a very rational decision. One of the reasons is because of, they have a high tension with Israel, and Israel is an atomic country. I think more than 300 warhead, and also Pakistan, the neighbor, has an atomic bomb. The north side is Russia with a superpower, in atomic way, and India as well. So regardless, I believe, regardless of who was ruling in Tehran, okay, probably any Iranian government would be very interested in getting the nuclear power. So, any questions so far? Yeah.
No questions. Keep going.
So they actively working on that. Okay, also that needs, okay, that needs to started coming to Iranian government, that in the middle of the Iran-Iraq war. Okay, in 8 years, okay, there was the longest conventional war, okay, in the 20th century. So 8 years wars between these two Muslim countries, and Iranians always claimed that we were alone. Okay, the entire world, okay, were supporting Saddam, and they were alone in that war. Okay, so we need to build, we need to have our own capability to defend ourselves. So Iran doesn't have air forces. Iran doesn't have, it cannot purchase the weapons, and also aircrafters, and so because they are under sanction. So one of their goals, okay, building the nuclear capability, and the second goal was to build their missiles capability as well, okay, to defend themselves. Okay, and there is an ironic piece of in history that exactly the middle of the Iran-Iraq war, Israelis supported Iranians. Okay, they sold weapons to Iranians because back then, okay, so politics is very complex. Okay, so don't be shocked. Politics is very, very complex. So the reason Israelis that time supported the Iran's regime because they saw Iraq or Saddam was the biggest threat to Israel. Okay, at the same time, Saddam was trying to build his own nuclear power as well. So fast forward, 2000, after the war, Iran-Iraq war, okay, and a little recess for the government to rebuild the infrastructure. In 2002, okay, one of the Iranian opposition group, okay, Mujahideen Khalq or MEK, okay, host a conference, a media conference, and they announced that Iranian government, okay, they have a nuclear site. Okay, they never reported to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Okay, and the Western countries, they opened their eyes and they found out, yeah, it's true, and they literally freaked out because they thought if they didn't want to build the bomb, okay, they would they would inform the IAEA, right? So right right after make leak that information, so Iran, Tehran, and three the European powers, France, UK, and Germany started a new negotiation. So the Europeans started a negotiation on behalf of the United States. Okay, so back then we had a reformist president in Iran, President Khatami, and they work out with each other. Okay, so the nuclear negotiation started since 2002, 2002 to 2000, almost not to the current day. Okay, so very up and down, and sometimes so many hardliners in Iran. Okay, they didn't want to sign any agreement with the Westerns. Okay, based on their ideology, and also the sanction creates so much interest to so many people. So sanctions created a new oligarchy in Iran because they want to, they learn how to bypass the sanctions, and means, okay, so you cannot be very clear in your economy. Okay, and there are so many oligarchies in Iran. They really take benefits. They take advantage of the sanction, and they make a bucket monies. And in the video footage this past 15 days, okay, we received from Tehran, we saw this high military rank person that got shot, or their condos got bombed. It was shocking, the video footage, not because of the people were killed, because of the level of their wealth and their lifestyle. Okay, regardless of their rhetoric, we are supporting, we are supporting suppressed nations. Okay, we are here to support all ethnic groups, all these things. So we are here to bring justice. Okay, regardless of their rhetoric, okay, and their slogans, but their lifestyle, it was really mind blowing. The level of the wealth, okay, was really mind blowing. And so the negotiation continue until 2015. 2015, because of the, again, United States imposed the heaviest sanctions in human history in Iranians, and also they took the Iran's case to the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, okay, under Article 7. which means, okay, open the US or Western countries' hand to invade Iran, okay, legally. So at that point, Iran really, the Ayatollah Khamenei, supreme leader, decided to sit at the table, okay, and I started the serious negotiation with the Obama administration, and finally in 2000, in 2015, they sign joint comprehensive plan of action, or JCPOA. So, but the goal, the soul of JCPOA, it was not only to uh, solve the Iran's nuclear program problem. Okay, the goal was lifting sanctions as well and bringing Iran to the international community, society. Okay, open the give some incentives and engage Iran's economy to the international economy. Okay, which means Iranians needed to change some domestic policies. Okay, they needed to change their behaviors in the region, right? So it's because it's a problematic behavior. It means, okay, Iran should have stopped its support to Hezbollah, for example, or Houthis, and become as a bad actor to become a good actor in the Middle East. But remember, so many hardliners are taking advantage of the sanction because they have high interest to them. So a day after JCPOA or a week after the what about women's rights in yeah, we will talk about, sorry, I saw the message. So yeah, so uh right a week, if I'm not mistaken, a week after Iran signed the JCPOA, okay, the IRGC, the the Revolutionary Guard launched a missile, okay, and they wrote on the missile with Hebrew, okay, that these missiles are going to wipe out Israel. And I remember this Sardar Salami, okay, it was the high commander of IRGC. He was the head of the IRGC. He was killed a couple of weeks ago. That he announced that Israelis they have to learn how to swim because we are going to throw all of them to the sea. So this is the problem. So immediately, as soon as Iranian government, the reformist executive branch of government signed the JCPOA, the hardliners try to sabotage it. I'm talking only about the Iranian side, because in the US, so many hardliners inside the US, they wanted to sabotage that agreement as well, like which later Trump in the first round did it. So basically, Iran didn't take any benefit of that agreement because you know they couldn't prove that they are going to change their behavior. And United States behind the scene, okay, stop all the corporation companies to invest inside Iran, right? So didn't work out well until both hardliners in both sides were unhappy until 2018. President Trump withdrew United States from that agreement. So right after that, Iran, okay, started enriching uranium to the 60%, and they tried to work with Europeans, okay, to bring United States back to the table, okay, and executing the JCPOA didn't work out, and we see Iran was involved. It's very complex. So many issues there. Okay, Iran was involved in Syrian civil war. Okay, and the Hezbollah was very active over there, and they were empowering Hezbollah as much as they could. The Houthis problem, then we saw the Iranian attack the Aramco, I think the largest oil company in the world, and by Saudis. So so many conflicts, unsolved conflicts, until October 7th. October 7th happened, and if you remember, Iranians didn't want Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader, didn't want to take any responsibility of that attack. And say, hey, it was not us. Even they didn't talk to us because he knew if he would take any responsibility of that attack, October 7th, the consequence of that would be very expensive for the entire country, at least. So, but however, okay, somehow Hezbollah got more involved, Iran got more involved, Houthis, and and we know the Israelis' behavior. Okay, they really chop off all Iranians' power in that region. Okay, first it started with Houthis, Hezbollah. Then their operations, so many operations inside Syria. They killed so many high-ranked military personnel by IRGC, and I think the most important things happened. It was in April 1st, 2024, that Israelis destroyed the Iranian embassy in Syria. So it was very difficult moment for everyone. Okay, how would Iranian respond to that attack? And 10 days or 12 days later, Iranian launched missiles toward Israel. So at that point, because of Biden administration, they were not seeking any new war in the Middle East. Their main goal was how to de-escalate the how to solve the October 7th issue. Okay, and that mass massacre or genocide happening, okay, in Gaza. They didn't want to change their focus towards Iran, Israel. They wanted to be focused on Gaza, and also we have to remember that United States in their grand policy, okay, international policy, foreign policy, they really want to walk out from Middle East. They want to, stay focused in East Asia and especially on China. Okay, since 2012. So they are, part of that Abraham Accord and all these activities because they want to make sure they won't have that much problem in the Middle East, and they want to focus on East Asia. So again, during the Biden administration, Iranian, okay, they could play, okay, somehow to to be at the table, not to be at the table. Okay. Until, again, fast forward until President Trump got elected, and they try to bring Iranian back to the table. And we have to again remember, Trump is that person who killed Qasem Soleimani, the most important military or general staff in Iran. He was really a loved one to Ayatollah Khamenei. Okay. And I still remember how hard he was crying after Qasem Soleimani was killed. So this is the problem. So you are weakened. Okay, you lost Hezbollah's power, you lost Houthis' power. Okay, you are in very deep trouble in the Middle East, and also you have to start again negotiating with the United States, right? And Iranian elected another reformist president. Okay, and right after he got elected, the day one, okay, he was in parliament to swear the oaths at the oath ceremony. I think a day after oath ceremony, Ismail Haniyeh was killed in Tehran. Okay. This is another problem that Iranians really didn't get the message. Okay, and they didn't do anything. And we saw also we I don't remember it was before or after the Hezbollah pager issue, okay, explosion, and again, fast forward, Iranian extended again. They thought, okay, they can extend the negotiation. They can extend the same as how they behave with the uh, Obama's administration and Biden. Okay, they try to extend the negotiation, have United States at the table, but in this side we have a irrational president. He's the most powerful man in the world, okay, because he's leading the superpower country, and his persona, his an ego, and also his uh, feeding his internal support is very important for him. He gave them a timeline. If you don't agree, if you don't compromise within this time frame, okay, the consequence would be very bad. But nobody could predict that when they are at the table, they are still negotiating. The United States give a green light to Israel to attack Iran, okay, in June 13th. So when this happened, when the Garussi, okay, released his statement that he was unsure about the Iranians' nuclear program again. Okay, he cannot confirm that everything is good. So he everything give a green light to Israel to attack Iranians, and June 13th it was very. Now everyone was shocked, and it's the Ayatollah Khamenei living underground, and until the ceasefire happened 2 days ago. Okay, so but in this 12 days war, okay, we saw something. First, both states were facing the existential threat. Okay, first Iranian regime, the second Israelis, because they thought, okay, they are, their army, okay, their power is shaped only for the rapid fast war. Okay, 6 days, 20 days, 30 days. Okay, they were not expecting that Iranians, okay, would keep themselves together, okay, and counter back. And other things, I believe they received wrong information by the Iranian opposition, because they thought if they attack Tehran, okay, or largest city in Iran, an Iranian would conduct a revolution, okay, overthrowing the government. Okay, they didn't. So Iranian became more united in these past 12 days. Okay, then Iranian, okay, could really hit Tel Aviv, Haifa, okay, and they show they have capability, okay, to destroy Israel. Israel is a very small country, right, compared to Iran, and and Israel needed United States to be involved. Okay, not only Israel, I believe. Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu is the most important person in this war, because I believe Netanyahu, Khamenei, and Trump. Okay, they are using the same discourse. Okay, means they are crisis-ridden, politicians. The existence depends on crisis. So they fit each other. They fit each other. And we know that Netanyahu is in trouble. Okay, if he doesn't continue in these wars, okay, he would face not international courts, also the Israeli courts, right? So Netanyahu, and also Israel, okay, they needed United States to get involved, because Israel was losing a war of it was losing a war of attrition, right? When you extend the war, okay, they didn't have enough weapons anymore, they didn't have enough bombs, and Iranians, okay, were still launching missiles, hitting Haifa, Tel Aviv, and at that point, okay, United States got involved and bombed the nuclear facilities. So the question is now, okay, while I believe Khamenei, Netanyahu, and Trump, they feed each other. They support each other perfectly, and and the main question is that these 12 days and United States involvement uh, solve the issue or not, solve the problem or not. Okay, and if and is this ceasefire stable or not? So I I can tell that these 12 days war didn't solve any issue. Okay, so maybe United States could postpone the Iranian nuclear program, okay, for 5 years, 10 years. But also you have to remember at the same time that operation gave strong incentives to Iranian to take, to enrich rebuild the nuclear program somewhere else. Okay, and nobody can see them. Okay, they have a strong incentive, and if I were them, I would do that again. Okay, and I probably because it makes sense. Okay, we were under attack by two atomic powers, like United States and Israel, and you are not capable to defend yourself perfectly. Okay, you have capability, but you cannot really defend yourself perfectly. We saw, okay, the first 2 days, the entire system was shocked. How many most important people in Iran got killed? Okay, in only 2 days, and so many spies. Now, Mossad forces are acting inside Iran, so there is in trouble, right? They are in trouble. That's why Ayatollah Khamenei he's still underground. Nobody knows where he is. So again, the problem didn't solve. The issue is still there. And Iranians have a strong incentive to rebuild their nuclear program again, and and again, United States, okay, destroyed the factories, the centrifuge factories, whatever, but they have 60% uranium, right? Enriched uranium. So, and also, uh, I heard the Pakistanis offered them to give them a bomb. Okay, so there are probably they could afford to purchase a bomb, so somehow, and another thing that the issue is there. The issue is there, and nothing is solved. This ceasefire, I believe, is very fragile. It's very fragile because it will give some time to Israelis to rebuild their power, their strength again. Okay, and also, at least as long as Ayatollah Khamenei is in charge in Iran, okay, Iranians are not going to change their behavior. They are not going to change some domestic policies or issues and open some doors, because we already saw some signs that more than 1,000 people already got arrested. Okay, as the Mossad forces in Iran, and I believe more than 10 executed already happened. And again, so I cannot see a good future, and I see this ceasefire is going to be a very fragile ceasefire. So everything is settled now, but I'm not very optimistic. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Can you go ahead and answer that question that was in the chat? What about women's rights in that negotiated accords?
Yeah, I'm not sure the Iranian wants to negotiate women or human rights. Okay, they are very specific. They believe, they always believe, even in the last message by the Ayatollah Khamenei, that they are not going to stop by only negotiating the nuclear program. They want to change the entire uh, Islamic Republic, right? Islamic Republic, because they think they just want to keep they want to change the entire system, but just keep the name. So I believe the women's rights or human rights are not at the table.
All right. Another one says not optimistic about a better regime for Iranians and or better relations with their neighbors and the great powers.
No, I'm not that much optimistic. So maybe in the Middle East anything is possible. Okay. And maybe if Ayatollah Khamenei passed away somehow, then they think about changing the behavior or applying new policies. But as long as he's alive, I believe nothing would change. But in some news they are not confirmed. I heard that there is a high tension and conflict at the top between Iranians.
So do you think if the leadership changes in Iran, the relationship between Iran, Israel, and the United States would change?
Not not that radical. Okay, but I believe Iranians, if Iranians would, if some reformists or more rational politician get into the power in Iran, probably they would give up on some proxies such as Hezbollah or Houthis or Hashd Shabi in Iraq, and also probably they would change their rhetoric against Israel. Probably they would leave the hostile. Okay, so without recognition of Israel. So like Turkey situation or like some Arab countries.
Does anybody else have any more questions? He said, can you talk about the politics of refugees more generally in US, in Chicago, and around the world?
So yeah, that way it's very good question. Also, it requires another webinar or meeting. Uh, m- can you explain more? What would you love to hear?
Yeah, can you give like a more precise, like what do you want to know about the refugees in general, the ones in the US, Chicago, or around the world? All right. We'll wait for the individual to be.
So do you
Oh,
So
mean the
he's
politics surrounding refugees, like about refugees? Yeah, you should be able to talk now. Sorry.
yeah,
okay.
no, it's okay. Sorry. He's saying particularly in Chicago, will the politics of welcoming people ever change? So I'm
I
assuming like welcoming
no,
refugees. Yeah.
I don't think so. Okay, at least in near future, because Chicago is a sanctuary city and also a state of Illinois is a sanctuary states where are welcoming states and city. And one reason is a labor shortage. Okay, but not because we really care. Okay, so we would love to support people. We would love to support families, and there is some rational reason behind our emotion as well. But we have to be also mindful about the anti-immigration policies and rhetoric, right? So means less funding to the city and to the states, okay, and also shifting the public opinions towards the migrants and refugees. So, Chicago probably will stay forever blue city, means Democrats. But in this past election, we saw the Chicagoans voted for Trump more than the first round. Okay, this is a red flag that we see there is some shift in Chicagoans' public opinion towards our politics, local politics, and also refugee, immigrant, migrant. And during the migrant crisis and 2 years ago, so many it created so many questions in Chicagoans or taxpayers' mind that why we should spend money on this population, why we have so many underserved communities. Why the city passed $67 million to support the migrant population. Okay, and I remember every week a group of people from underserved communities, they were at the city hall and chanting against Mayor Johnson and also the entire city hall that okay, don't spend our money on migrants. Okay, they are not Chicagoan, they are not American citizens, their children were not born here. Okay, while our children, they don't have enough support even to go to school here. So they have legit valid questions, but and it's not easy to answer those questions because it's a very complex issue. So overall, I won't see Chicago change, its support towards refugee and migrant populations. However, we see a shift in Chicagoans' mindset towards refugee and immigrants.
Okay. I know you mentioned like tax dollars supporting, people don't want the tax dollars supporting, refugees and immigrants. Our tax dollars are going to a lot of things that people don't want to support. So wouldn't it be better to have our tax dollars here to support refugees or immigrants that need it, as opposed to sending it to basically commit the genocide that's happening in Gaza right now?
So, in real politics or in reality, we don't have that much control on our taxes. Okay, we can yell
That's
at the
true.
government. We can yell at the government because we pay tax, right? But we don't have that much control on how they would spend it because at their discretion. So, yeah, I understand, but we cannot do that much about it.
No, that's true. Like, but we can still speak up, and that's a lot of us
Right,
are
this
doing.
is raising awareness, talking, and at least
Right.
keeping the policymakers accountable is most
Mm-hmm.
important thing. So I think the most important, we have a very strong power, okay, towards
Mm-hmm.
and the politicians, because we have to always remember the first goal of every single politician in at least in this country is to get reelected.
Right.
So,
Uh,
so if we become more united and
that
and
that's the thing. The
that
point. Unit.
politician feels okay,
Yeah.
he's not going to get reelected, okay, probably they would listen to us more
Right.
carefully.
Exactly. When you're Here's another question. This one's a little long. So, even though Israel helped Iran against Iraq and Saddam, Netanyahu had a hit list of all Muslim Arab countries that he wanted to take out. Iran was on that list. So, was Israel's strategy of divide and conquer that they can eliminate each country one at a time? Do you think that if Iran did not support the Palestinians, Israel would still view Iran as a threat, or would it attack Iran? Yeah.
Yes. So one thing is, uh, I believe that Iranian government really doesn't support Palestinians, okay, because of the discourse they use, and they are on the same page with the Israelis and also Americans. Okay, regardless, we support Palestinians, but in reality, they really don't support Palestinian group. Okay, and remember, Ahmadinejad, like he was some point he was a president of in Iran. Okay, he denied Holocaust. Like, this is just, it's superstitious. It didn't happen. Okay, maybe happen. Okay, but not that much. And also, why only Jewish? Okay, I mean, so many people were killed in the Second World War. So only that statement, okay, give that much legitimacy to Israel's government, and they justify their behavior because of some states like Iran, like government, some politicians like Ayatollah Khamenei. So in the real world, I believe Iranian government, they really don't support the Palestinian to achieve their rights and goals. So, and also there is a there is in political science there is Copenhagen school. They securitize the international relations, okay, by the country's rhetoric. So Iran become the security problem to the international communities because of their rhetoric. Okay, for more than 45 years, then they say we are going to bomb Israel, we are going to wipe out Israel from the map. This is problematic, right? So and also justify Israel's behavior in the region. And overall, yes, I believe Israel wanted to not only weaken Iran, also to divide and separate Iran, okay, to the different smaller states in the region. So this is the ultimate goal, and they were hoping in this past 12 days war, okay, to do that. So, but again, I mean, ordinary people showed a different behavior while uh, they are in a fight with the dictatorship. Okay, they are seeking their democracy or human rights inside, but also at the same time they say big no to any foreign war or invasion.
We have another question here. Why is there a difference of classification between refugees and immigrants? Oftentimes, refugees are forced out due to politics of exclusion, violence, and/or ethnic cleansing. Immigrants oftentimes have to leave their country of birth due to economic policies that are known to cause mass exodus from rural to urban areas or other countries.
So why they are different? They drop in different categories because of the law. Okay, because of the laws, not only domestic laws, also international laws as well. Okay, so each of these population they have a specific definition. Okay, and those specific definition creates different rights and also supports, benefits, and pathways. So someone who we define them or consider as a refugee means they fled the country due to persecution. It can be religion persecution or a political persecution, or there is a very clear definition of who is a refugee, and fled their country, register in the UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and wait to be transported to the third country. This is a refugee, right? We have asylum seekers, or asylum seekers, or can be migrant and also immigrants. So migrants means there is a famine, there is there is an economic situation like what happened in Venezuela. They are because of those catastrophes. Okay, they leave their countries, right? They leave their countries. They are seeking other opportunities or better opportunities. Okay, so somehow they can arrive in the United States, right, and cross the border, and those populations with this current administration, all of them are criminals because they crossed the border illegally and they violated the nation law, right? So they 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 don't deserve to receive any according to the laws. I'm talking not my beliefs. Okay, they don't deserve to receive any benefits of this country, and we see most of them are undocumented, and also they do the labor work with less than minimum wage. Okay. Part of those migrants can be asylum seekers. Okay, they didn't have a chance to go to UNHCR, but they have those reasons they cannot go back to their countries because of, for example, political persecution, right? They can prove it, they go to the court system, they granted a green card. Or some immigrant, they arrive here by a student visa, for example. Okay, there are scholars, they continue their education, getting their PhD or degree, then they show they are very competent, they are very beneficial for this country. They have to prove their competency, then they can get their green card and pass their, go to that pathway. Or okay, some of them maybe they arrive here as a as a tourist, but something happened. For example, this 12 days war between Iran and United States and Israel, so they cannot go back in Iran anymore, and because of the political view, okay, they share in social media, whatever, okay, they are afraid of going back Iran, so they file asylum in the court. Okay, they are waiting to go. So every single, in a common mistake, so usually we generalize everyone under refugee. Okay, but literally every single of these terms has a different definition. Okay, migrant, refugee, and they have so different rights. It's very complicated. It's not that easy to navigate also the immigration system in this country.
Okay, thank you. I think you answered this one. It says, why aren't those that leave due to economic reasons be able to be classified as refugees as well?
So again, you have to go through United Nations to be considered as a refugee. Okay. So yeah, it means you have to be registered in UNHCR. UNHCR, interview, they open the case. Okay, they review your evidence, and based on what you provide to United Nations, they decide you would be granted as a refugee or not. Okay, but after that, okay, they pass your case to the countries, okay, to the third country, usually European countries, United States, Canada, and Australia. They are more welcoming to refugee population through UNHCR. Okay, then you have to wait in some cases, in a couple of months to even 2 decades, okay, to arrive to the third country.
Okay. Oh, someone's just walking in right now. Okay. There was during this 12-day war, I think Trump started talking about regime change in Iran. What gives the right for an outside country to just start bombing another country, calling it, regime change? Shouldn't the people of a certain country take control and fight the regime that is basically not good for them, as opposed to just other countries coming to bomb them?
So first, we have a president in the White House, which you cannot really rely on his words. Okay, he's not reliable at all. He's constantly changing his mind and his words. Right. The second thing, it's so obvious that United States, okay, involvement in that war. I'm not talking about Israel. It was really infringing the international laws, okay, and also constitutional law, and also sending a very wrong message to other countries. Okay, means okay, so other powers in the world that can do, whatever they want to do. So after the Second World War, the international communities, all these countries, they try to build some structure, some international law to mitigate any tension between the countries, avoid another world war. But what is happening now, is not the. We see there is no order, there is no international law. Okay? It's like a jungle law, jungle rules, right? So it doesn't give any rights to any countries, okay, regardless what is happening inside and domestically, to threat another country or invade. And yeah,
Okay, good.
and
Thank
the
you.
regime change, and about the regime change, I'm pretty sure the United States is not seeking regime change inside Iran. Okay, because Israelis really wants to do that, but the United States doesn't want to do that because of first, okay, any regime change requires to deploy the soldiers inside the country. You cannot just airstrike, bombing the country, and suddenly the regime changed. No, it doesn't happen like that. Okay, it requires an American soldier to walk into the Iran soil, okay, change the regime. It's not going to happen. Okay, especially after the Iraq invasion. Okay, I believe for the next 200 years, Americans do not want to do that anymore. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned some. So Israel wants a regime change in Iran,
Yes.
and why does Israel want a regime change in Iran?
So they want to have a very tame, okay, and behave and puppet
Puppet.
okay, leader inside Iran. Okay, the ultimate goal is dividing Iran, okay, making it smaller countries, and also have a puppet over there, because one reason, regardless who is ruling over Iran, is because of the geopolitical situation of Iran, in the map. Okay, again, regardless if it's a Shah or Ayatollah Khamenei or liberal democracy inside Iran, okay, that country would be a serious threat to the existence of Israel. So they prefer to have a very weakened country and a puppet over there.
Okay, thank you. There's a question here. In your opinion, what percentage of Iran's population would want a regime change, assuming it's not initiated by outside countries, but by Iran's own population?
I cannot give a percentage, right? Because it's not a democracy over there. We cannot conduct any real survey. But I can talk about the national mood. I can talk about the Iranian mindset shifts during these 45 years. That uh, first, we learn our lesson from the revolution. Okay. We learn our lesson from the revolution that revolution is not a good thing. Okay. And didn't bring one of the very important slogan during the Iran revolution was independency, okay, and freedom. Independence, freedom, and Islam. So Islam is there, okay, not because people were very super religious, because they really believe that Islam promised them democracy. Islam promised them freedom, right? So and they were thirsty to have a theocracy, because they thought if we have some representative of God, Allah, okay, being our country, we have everything. Okay, we have a pure Islam, and it means democracy and freedom, right? And also we are independent. But after more than 45 years, Iranian learned the lesson that is not going to happen. Okay, because they found themselves in another dictatorship. Okay, the worst one, because they thought they experienced that they are using the system, the government using the people's belief and manipulate them, and also they Iranians, by the time, okay, they became more secular. Okay, sometimes some family, they lost their beliefs totally. So Iranians again learned the lesson from 1979. Okay, and also the war, Iran-Iraq war. Okay, they are not seeking overall. They are not seeking rapid changes, means they throw any wars or any revolution, and they are seeking a reform. Okay, which means, okay, it's a long-term plan. It's not going to happen in one night or two nights or a year, 2 years, or even 20 years. Okay, but it's going to happen. And also Iranian mindset and culture has shifted a lot. Okay, as I mentioned, Iranians are more secular. There is a study behind it. That study is a little bit old, because I read that study when I was in Iran. But there was a study uh, uh, the, it was a comparison study between Iran, Egypt, Turkey, UK, and United States. And according to that study, that overall Iranian in the Middle East became more secular. Okay, and it was very interesting that the Turkish people became more religious. Okay, So it was very interesting how human behavior changed based on who is in charge in government. So, and the Turkish government tried to be so secular, forcing people not to practice their beliefs, okay, in the streets. So people become more religious. Iranian government force everything on Iranians, okay, to wear hijab, mandatory hijab, or sometimes punishing them, all these things, and so much pressure on society, and Iranian became more secular. So, and uh, I'm sorry, I lost the question. I forgot the question I was answering.
No, the question was, what percentage of Iran's population would want the regime change, assuming
Yeah,
it's not initiated by an outside country, but by the people
yeah.
themselves?
So inside Iran, I don't see that much, and so many people really seeking a regime change. Okay,
Mhm,
they prove in these past 12 days that that they became more united. However, if another attack happened next couple of months, I'm not sure the Iranian would show the same behavior, because the Iranian governments didn't change. But it hasn't changed yet. They didn't change even the behavior, the rhetoric internally. So okay, I watch the TVs, I watch their news, and if the Iranian government authorities don't change their behavior and even rhetoric, and do not open some doors to people and make the people more a little bit relaxed,
mhm.
probably if another attack happened to Iran, they wouldn't get that much support. So one, but Iranian behavior outside United States, it's very frustrating. And there is in sociology there is a terminology we call Cubanizing a society. Okay, this term came up from uh, Cuban situation, Cuban community inside the U.S. Anytime United States try to get close to Cuban government in Havana, or they try to solve their problem. So the issue was not Americans or Cubans. The problem was Cubans inside the United States. And they try to sabotage any effort to solve the problem. So, and also they tread any other different voices from other Cubans inside the US. So there is only one voice, okay, get into the White House, and that Cubans basically, majorities are in Florida, okay, and they really sabotage any efforts to solve between these two countries' issues. So this is the Iranians inside the US and diaspora. Okay, unfortunately, we are facing the same situation. There is some groups, okay, Iranian groups that are warmongers. They have been trying to Cubanize Iranian society. So anytime Iran and US try to solve their problem, this Iranian warmongers sabotage that effort, and also they supported Israel's operation in these past 12 days. So I I believe at this point they are the most hated Iranian by Iranians.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, we have, okay. 1 second, Kate. There's another question before you. Israel has discussed partitioning Iran based on ethnic lines. Moving
Mhm.
forward, how likely is it for Iran, US, Turkey, and Israel to push for separatist movements throughout the country? For example, Turks and South Azerbaijan.
So I'm reading the question now.
Okay.
In ethnic groups or or separatist groups, there are, they exist in the Middle East. Okay, so especially after the First World War, okay, how they chop off the countries and remap everything. But the probability of those separatist group inside Iran, okay, they are there. They have, also they have sometimes a valid claim issues, but they are not that strong. Okay, the one reason is if you look into the Middle East, Iran is one of the oldest country in the world, and Iranians, by the time they have learned how to live together, okay, so in the Middle East overall, I can tell Iranian almost became a nation, okay, over the history. Not quite a nation, okay, but they have some level of nation states in Iran. So again, Israelis want this is their one of their dreams. They really want to do that because a big country such as Iran is a threat to them. Okay, they prefer to have a weekend. Uh, yeah, they prefer to have a weekend state inside Iran or a puppet. Okay, so but overall, again, I see, every country in the Middle East, okay, they use some separatist groups in terms of to seek their own interests or agenda.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Nima, for putting a reading recommendation. But you too, Ali, do you have any books or works that you recommend for people to read to find out more about Iran's political landscape and how to end sanctions on Iran?
I have so many books in my mind, but all of them are in Farsi. Okay,
Okay.
so but yeah, so but let me think about it. Okay, I will
Okay.
share some names to send with you, and please share with others.
Yeah, if you can think of a couple, send them to me and I can email a list to people who registered for this.
If you are very interested about Iran revolution, at least, okay, there is a book by uh, Yervan Abrahamian. He's a absolute historian. He's phenomenal, and his book's name is Iran's Between Two Revolutions. Iran's Between Two Revolutions, and that book is amazing. I read it twice,
Wonderful.
but
Yes,
it gives you a very good picture of the roots of Iranian revolution.
yes, thank you. And actually, Farzine brought a good point. When we post this video on YouTube, we can also put your reading recommendations under the video on YouTube and people can read it. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. It's 7:47. We don't want to make this too long, but we can always do another session with Dr. Ali. If there's anything specific you guys want to know, shoot us a message and let us know, and then we can discuss it with Dr. Ali and plan another session. Thank you, Ali, for sharing your knowledge with us, and hopefully everybody has a good evening and a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.